Hello Pokemon fans, I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today we're finally back with a deck profile video for you guys. Lately it's been a little crazy with the new baby and work and city championships and all this other stuff. Been taking up a lot of time, so we've been putting up more content with things like openings and quicker videos and things like that. Just because I haven't had the time to really sit down and go over this stuff. But today I actually have a little bit of time to go over something with you guys. I got a deck here that has done really well in the city championships. They're all coming to a close right about now. I know this weekend coming up is our pre-release for Primal Clash. So maybe this is something you might want to consider for regionals or maybe just for fun in league or something like that. So the deck we're going to focus on here is focused around this guy right here. The most annoying card in the game right now, but we cannot deny how amazing that it has done in these city championships, and that is Seismitoad EX. That one attack right there, Quaking Punch, 30 damage, and your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand during their next turn, is what seems to be dominating the entire format right now. So we're definitely going to go over this deck profile, let you guys in on one of the decks that's done really well, and I got a little bit of a twist on this deck myself. So let's go ahead and dive right into it and take a look to see what all is in this deck. There's not really a whole lot to it. It's just really annoying and really good. So we're going to start here with the first Pokemon. That's going to be our Seismitoad EX. There is definitely going to be 4 of these. This deck is referred to as Quad Toad for a reason. 4 Seismitoad. Very simple. Quaking Punch is just really, really good. And as annoying as it is, and as how much I don't particularly care for Seismitoad, cannot deny that it is an amazing card and has done extremely well. So the next Pokemon we're going to take a look at here is Swirlix. What? Swirlix? Why would we run Swirlix in a Seismitoad deck? Well, we don't really need it for Swirlix. We need it for what it evolves into. But we've got 4 of these. So you guys know what you're in for next, right? 4 Swirlix means 4 Slurpuff. This card is basically going to be your main source of draw support. Slurpuff here has the ability, go ahead and use the hollow version there, the ability Tasting. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw a card, and if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, draw 1 more card. So this is a support Pokemon, strictly for getting your draw power. It leaves you room for less supporters, less draw cards, and more annoying cards, which we'll get into here momentarily. Now, whether you can believe it or not, this is the entire Pokemon line. That's it. Seismitoad, Slurpuff. That's all that's in this deck for Pokemon. So let's look at what else is in this deck. What could possibly take up the other spots in here to make it work? Well, first we're going to look at the drawing cards here, the draw support. Professor Juniper, 4 of them. Want to get through the deck as fast as possible to get a hold of your Seismitoads, get a hold of your Slurpuffs, get a hold of your energy, and everything else that you need. So what better way than to burn through your deck as fast as possible, discard your hand that you don't need, and draw a fresh 7 cards. So we got 4 of these in the deck. It is the most prevalent draw supporter by far. Next, 2 copies of N. N, shuffle your hand into your deck, both of you, your opponent, and draw as many as you have prize cards. It's still pretty viable in the game. I noticed that most decks don't run 4 of them anymore. Most of them have dropped down to 3. In this case, even 2. Sean is getting played a little bit more. Corvus is getting played a bit more. And I think Professor Birch's new observation in the next set will probably get played a little bit more as well. So as much as N doesn't like to admit it, his card is falling by the wayside, slowly but surely. So, alright, the next support card that we've got here is a single copy of Lysander. Most decks run 2, but really you only need 1 of this because you want to lock down whatever's in the active position for as long as possible until it gets knocked out. So 1 copy of Lysander is really all that's necessary in this deck, and you can always get it back with Versus Seeker. We also run 1 copy of Lysander's Trump card because let's face it, this deck does run out of resources eventually, and you've got to get stuff back out of the discard pile. So each player shuffles all cards in his or her discard pile into his or her deck, and, well, you got a brand new deck again. So 1 copy of Trump card can also be searched out with Versus Seeker later on as well, so you can keep doing it. 1 copy of Pokemon Center Lady, heals 60 damage, and remove all special conditions from one of your Pokemon. If one of your Toads happens to get poison, put to sleep, confused, paralyzed, whatever, you can heal it, and you can also take 60 damage off of it as well, which is always a good thing because your Seismitoads must be preserved in order to win this game. Last card we're going to look here as a Disruption card, Team Flare Grunt. Discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. No coin flips necessary, discards all kinds of energy off the active Pokemon. Disruption is the name of the game with this deck, and this is one of the most disruptive cards in the deck, and considering that there's room for it, why not play it? I mean, it doesn't rely much on draw support, so may as well put in stuff that's going to make things harder on your opponent. Alright, our next draw card is going to be item-based. 4 copies of Roller Skates. This is a very flippy kind of card. Get the pun there. I know it was bad. Flip a coin. If heads, draw 3 cards. So your item-based draw support definitely can be a factor. Helps you burn through the deck, get cards into your hand. In combination with Slurpuff, you can turn a Roller Skates essentially into a free Juniper without having to throw anything away. So definitely a good card to have if you're good at flipping heads. If you always flip tails, don't use it. That's just my best recommendation to you there. So there's that. Now 30 damage is not much for Seismitoad, so we want to definitely help the damage output as much as possible. We're going to run Hypnotoxic Laser, 4 copies to be exact. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So you run the chance of putting them to sleep, definitely going to get poisoned, and this increases the damage output for Seismitoad by 10 in between turns. And of course, you know what stadium's coming up next. That's going to be Verbank. So you know that increases it by another 20 damage in between turns. So, keeping on with our items here, we've got 3 copies of Versus Seeker. Versus Seeker is an amazing card to be brought back into the format after it rotated out from Supreme Victors. To get back any of these supporter cards, you can get back a Juniper if you need a fresh hand, you can get back an N if you want to end your opponent down to 1, if you're behind in the prize count, Lysander, Trump card, Pokemon Center Lady, Team Flare Grunt, your possibilities are almost endless in this deck. Whatever you need for the situation, you can always get it back with Versus Seeker as long as it's in the discard pile. Now again, increasing damage output for Seismitoad, Muscle Band. Add 20 damage on to whatever damage output that you're doing. In this case, you're always pretty much going to be doing 30 damage. Well, actually, you will always be doing 30 damage with Quaking Punch, so this will make it 50. Plain and simple. More damage means better outcome. So we're going to put that down there. 3 copies is a pretty decent number. I think the original list called for 2, but I feel like 3 adds a level of consistency to it that makes it worthwhile. Alright, next up we got 3 copies of Ultra Ball. We always want to make sure we've got Swirlix, Slurpuff, and Seismitoad out on the bench in pretty big numbers. So running 3 copies of Ultra Ball ensures that we're able to get them out and onto the bench, or, well, whatever you need necessarily. If you're going to evolve as well, to get them out and into play. So there's that. And also, a big key to Seismitoad decks surviving is going to be 3 copies of Super Scoop Up. Flip a coin. If heads, put one of your Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. So if you've got a Seismitoad in the active position and it's about to die, you got a DCE and a Muscle Band attached to it, use the Super Scoop Up, flip heads, pick it all back up, put a fresh Seismitoad in the active position, reattach your DCE, reattach your Muscle Band. It's like nothing ever happened to it. Put the old one back on the bench and you're good to go again. It's like Max Potion, but just, well, instead you're scooping and it's a coin flip instead. This has caused so many headaches for so many players that have had to play against this Super Scoop Up Seismitoad. But 3 copies of it is all that really is necessary in this deck. So we'll put those down there. And now for some disruption cards. This is where the deck gets super, super annoying. We've got 3 copies of Crushing Hammer. Flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. You can pick whichever one that it is. Could be a basic energy, could be a special energy. Regardless, all you have to do is flip a heads. There's a lot of flipping in this deck, as you can see. Super Scoop Up, Crushing Hammer, Hypnotoxic Laser, Roller Skates. You should be really good at flipping heads if you're going to run this kind of a deck. And even if you're not, well, the luck's with you half the time, most of the time. So there's that. Definitely a powerful disruption card in this deck. Could leave you completely energy dry and down and out for the count. Can't recover fast enough, then you're in big trouble. Also run 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. No questions asked, no coin flips necessary. Just throw it away. Definitely a huge pain in the butt if you've got to play against it and you run special energy. Alright, next item card we got here is 2 copies of Floatstone. The purpose of this is to attach it to a Slurpuff to be able to get it out of the active spot, put it in the active spot if you have to, draw 2 cards, take it out of the active spot, or if it gets Lysandered up, that way you can just take it back out if it's not going to get knocked out with that weak 90 HP. But regardless, it's still really good to have the Floatstone just to be able to get that extra card if you need it. So we'll go ahead and set those down right over there. We got 2 copies of Headringer. This is really good in the mirror match, especially if you've got this going first. You can cause your opponent's Seismitoad to miss that turn 2 Quaking Punch of their own, make them attach another energy, and disrupt the entire game for them. Not to mention this works on many other Pokemon, like Mega Manectric, temporarily on Yveltal if they don't attach double colorless and a dark energy. It just works for all Pokemon EX to make them have to attach 1 more energy to use their attacks. Alright, we got 1 copy of Startling Megaphone. More or less, it's just to eliminate maybe Muscle Bands or Garbodor, for instance, because you do have that tasting ability in order to draw. So 1 copy of Startling Megaphone is enough. Tools aren't a huge problem against this deck, especially if you've got your opponent item locked. I got 1 copy of Switch. When Floatstone just isn't enough, or if you get Megaphoned away and you got nothing else to do, you can play a Switch card. If you got something in the active that you don't want there, allows you to take something up off your bench, put it in the active position. Our ace spec in the deck is going to be Scoop Up Cyclone. Guaranteed, pick up 1 of your Pokemon and all cards attached to it, put it into your hand. Super Scoop Up without the flip. Perfect card for this deck. Really annoying, but really good. Alright, our stadium card here is going to be Burbank City Gym. Put 2 more damage counters on poison Pokemon in between turns. Works very well, obviously, with Hypnotoxic Laser. It turns 30 damage into 50 with a Muscle Band and 80 with Burbank and a Laser. So that really adds up fast. And then in between turns, we're taking more damage. 2-hit knockout on just about anything in the game. All you have to do is just make that combination happen, and it's easier than you think with this kind of a deck. So there's that. And finally, last but not least, is our energy count. It's so overwhelmingly high that I don't know what to do with myself. 4 double colorless energy. That's all this deck uses. That's all that it needs. With all the ways to burn through things with Juniper, to burn through with Ultra Balls, you've got roller skates. It's just, I don't know, it's just really easy to be able to get what you need if you absolutely have to. You're always going to be able to have access to a DCE about 75% of the time. So it works really well, and even if you don't, Seismitoad can tank at least 1 hit, if not 2, sometimes even 3, so it's a good thing. Regardless, I think that 4 double colorless energy does the job in the deck. It certainly has proven so in the city championships that I've seen them do so well at, especially the ones that I've been to. It's crazy how well Seismitoad has done. But anyways, guys, here's the deck. There's everything that goes in here. You guys can tweak it however you might like it. This is my particular build on it. It's basically taking a list that I've seen and making it my own. That's basically what you have to do. You know, take a deck that you see that does well. If you don't like certain things about it, fix it to your own, play it the way you like it. That's the main point in this game. Have fun and play the deck the way that you want to play it. Just because you have the deck doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to win for you, but it's always good to have a good start regardless. So hopefully this helps you guys out, and you guys can get out there and play well with this deck, even though it's one that's, yeah, very annoying. But hopefully you guys have fun with it. Anyways, that's the deck profile video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm going to try to get you guys more TCG content similar to this out here real soon. I know we got some more openings coming up here with Primal Clash releasing very soon. So we'll try to get it out there as much as possible. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries. Yeah.